Hello everyone, welcome back. This is Ray Choice, Master Certified Coach, Professional Coach Trainer, co-author of 4 different books, 3 hugely popular books on the art and science of coaching, and creator of this free training video series for you, to support you to become a transformational communicator in your own life. So in the last segment, if you saw it, wonderful. If you didn't, it's okay. What we rolled out was this. We drew a wheel, and I invited you to know what everybody wants in great communication. And this is obvious stuff, right? Everybody wants to feel safe, heard, respected, appreciated, connected, free to express. They want to feel like they can be authentic with you, and they want to feel loved. And I invited you to take one of those challenging relationships and actually rate yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being low, 10 being high. How much are you creating the space with these particular qualities? So I went into my mind and heart and focused on my oldest son for a moment. And I happen to be a single mom at the time of this recording and have been for 5 full years. So this is pretty significant. And I have a 9-year-old son. He is amazing, absolutely amazing. And he's got a tremendous amount of energy. And that energy can swing in either direction, right? So it's amazing being his mom. I really appreciate it. And I really believe the university of life happens in the family system. And Isaiah just happens to be one of my greatest teachers. So when I think about one of the challenging scenarios, and we've had, a few from time to time, but once a week I'll have a challenge with Isaiah. And I rated myself, how much am I creating a safe space? I only gave myself about a 5 for that. Just being totally true that sometimes I can see that he doesn't actually feel safe in sharing all of who he is. I'll just go through this really quickly and share with you how I did this for myself. So safety, I give myself a 5. Hearing, about a 6. Sometimes my hearing is constricted and focused on my inner dialogue and why I want to convey, and not actually hearing him. So I'm going to be sharing with you later on a lot on listening, and when I'm really honest with myself, I'm only about a 6. Being respecting of Isaiah, I gave myself about a 5.5 here. I think that there's moments where I really could listen better. I could listen for what he's doing really well rather than what he's doing wrong, and that would show a tremendous amount of respect for him. And so I don't always do that. I get kind of caught up in my mom role. I'm in my own agenda, my own inner dialogue. So it's a little lower than I would prefer right now. Appreciating, I really focus on sharing a lot of love, and really appreciating. And so I gave myself a higher rating here, about a 7. I do feel really connected to my son. There's lots of hugs, and you can see I gave myself really high number in loving as well. So these ones are my high ones. But allowing him to express all of who he is and be totally authentic, sometimes I want him to kind of mold to my version of who I want him to become. Anybody relate to this? I sometimes don't allow him to express all of who he is. And I think sometimes he tones down his authentic expression and is trying to be a version of himself that he wants me to approve of. Do you get the spin on that? I mean, this is the complexity of relating, right? And one of the things that I know for certain in life is that there's 2 ways that you can show up in any relationship. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's your relationship with your son, your daughter, your spouse, your business partner, right? The lady down the street that's driving you a little bit bonkers. Okay, there's 2 ways that you can show up. So let's talk about that next. The 2 ways that you can show up in life are either the R or the C. Okay, so I just invite you to consider this. This is just one way of looking at life, and it's a lens that I look through that's very supportive for me to be the best parent I can be, to be the best coach I can be, to be the best mother, daughter, whatever role I'm playing, right? So what's the first one? Well, the first one is life as a reactor. What's the second one? Life as a creator. Okay, now you can see that I've done the red light, green light thing here. Okay, so of course, as we look at these 2 words, we notice there's one difference in each of these 2 words. Do you see that? So sit with that for a moment. I'll share that with you in a second. what is life as a creator? Or I'm sorry, as a reactor. Let's start there, right? What is life as a reactor? Well, a reactor is someone who is focused on what they do not want. Okay, they're like, I don't want my son to behave this way. I don't want her to say that. I don't want this to happen. I don't want. So they're focused on what they do not want and are typically, and this is not always the case, I'll break it down in more detail in a few minutes, but they're typically shaming and blaming the outer world, right? Okay, who you are is terrible to me. You're not paying attention. You're not, those inner gremlins. Okay, so life as a reactor is when you're focused on what you do not want. Shame, blame, pain are the themes. Lots of complaining as well. Okay, so I'll break that down in more detail in just a moment. But the life as a reactor is very different than the life as a creator. So look at the difference between these two words. Okay, reactor and creator. There's one difference. What's the difference that you notice? Can you see it? There's the metaphor, right? So with a reactor, the C is in the middle. With a creator, the C is up front. Do you get that? So what does that mean? That means to become a creator. Who's a creator? Creator is someone that is focused on what they do want. They take responsibility for all of their communication, right? They get themselves what I call above the line in life. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. The way to do that, the way to create more choice, more resourcefulness, more openness, more possibility in your life is to see first. Do you get that? You need to see first. So when you're a reactor, you're resisting first. You're resisting first. When you're a creator, you see first. You see what it is that you want to create. Okay? So I'm challenging you, and I'm challenging myself to become a magnificent creator in this life. Because when you are a creator, life opens up to a whole new level. Now, I'm going to share with you one more concept, and then we'll end this video for today. So stick with me here, because this is really valuable. So I invite you to consider that in life, there is a line. A line that if you cross it, you are entering into a whole new territory. Okay? So there is life below the line, and there is life above the line. Now, you all know that there's a line, and you know when you've crossed it, you can feel it inside of yourself. Now, you may not have given it this language before, but stick with me here, because I think you're going to find this very helpful. Very helpful. It has actually changed my whole life. So stay with me here, okay? So life below the line. Life below the line, obviously, is the life of a reactor, okay? Now, we know that, just a little bit below the line is, we're maybe a little bit frustrated or feeling a little bit challenged. Maybe we kind of bark at our wife or our husband or our child or something, so we're not at our best. But that's just a -1. What happens when you start to go lower below the line? Right? You've experienced it, haven't you? You've absolutely experienced this in your life. And the lower you go, what happens? The lower you go, the less and less and less choice you have access to inside of yourself. The less choice you have access to inside of yourself. Now, we've all heard of those moments, those fight or flight moments, and maybe you've seen it, on the highway, right? The super highway of life, when suddenly, you notice someone cut in front of you, and they're swearing and cursing, and they turn into a reptile. We call this being a lizard, right? The lizard brain takes over, and they're way down at the bottom here, at the very, very bottom, where they literally seem to have no choice. Their state runs them, rather than them controlling their state, right? These are these moments where somebody sees red and they don't even remember what they've done. They've gone completely ballistic. And of course, how does that person feel after that's happened, right? I mean, these are these really tragic, horrible events that, many of us have been through. So we don't want to be below the line. We want to get ourselves above the line. So what is life above the line? Well, obviously that is the life of a creator, where you really do see possibility, where you really do open up to more and more and more choice. So when you have more awareness, you have more opportunities to choose your response. So when you're above the line just a little bit, you know, you're a little bit resourceful, but when you start to really allow yourself to get way up above the line, there is absolutely nothing in the outer world that will throw you off track. Nothing. Now, in the next video, I want to talk to you about the BABE formula, because I'm going to take the line and I'm going to relate it to the outer world, because the outer world can only bring you 2 types of responses. Now, that might be hard for you to believe, but I want you to stick with me on this because I think you're going to find it quite fascinating, and it simplifies everything in high-level communication. So in the meantime, live your life above the line, and I will see you in the next video.